Welcome back to the Unapologetic Podcast. Today I have with me Sailynn, and she is a business coach. She's actually or your fun business coach, which I absolutely love. And so tell us about that part because, I want to hear more about that. I think that that's very unique.
Well, thanks so much for having me. It is unique. And so, my first business, I owned a senior home care franchise. I did that for 10 years and I sold it in 2017. And after that, I got into direct sales and I was new to the online space, new to direct sales. And so, I hired a coach, and she was more of a marketing coach. And she was running a beta program in 2020 when we were all kind of reinventing ourselves. And she's like, Sailynn, you love business, be a business coach. And I was like, yeah, but business coaches are like old white men that are balding and overweight, and that's not me. And she's like, then make it your own. And so I said, I'm the fun business coach. And so it just kind of stemmed from there. But now it has become such a talking piece. And I think
Mhm.
this is so important, right? So, really branding yourself as something that's clear, business coach, but something that's catchy by adding in the fun part.
Mhm.
Everyone asked me about it.
And it's so funny that you saw business coaches as like old white men because I think that now we see like the boss babe business coach
Mhm.
and it's like been rebranded more so to that because it's all online, right? And that's generally what I think of more so than like the corporate men business coach type thing. So it's
Mhm.
so interesting that that's like what popped up for you first.
Well, I mean, I started my first business in 2007, right? I
Hmm.
wore suits and stilettos for the first 20 years of my career. And so I was brought up in that environment
Yeah.
where it was male dominated. And, it was the suits and the older men telling us what to do and being the gurus. And so when I started over online, it was totally different because you're exactly right. It's very female dominated now. It's way more casual. And, it's really like a movement about like empowerment versus, just business, which I love. And so
Hmm.
it's really become part of my brand. And I mean, I love Lily Pulitzer. You can see the background. And so I really think that in business, when you build it, so it's something that supports the dream life that you want, it can be
Yes.
fun. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be unicorns and rainbows every single
Yeah.
day, but it can be fun overall because why else? What's the point?
Exactly. I say that all the time. And I think that that's something that gets so lost in this is we get so focused on our business goals that we forget that it's actually supporting the life that we want. And
Mhm.
you have to remember that part of it. Like, what do you want your life to look like outside of your business? Because that's why you're doing this, so that you can create that life. It's not just so that you can work all the time.
Yeah. And, I really learned that lesson because having owned a senior home care franchise,
Hmm.
I worked with so many seniors at the end of their life because, when
Yes.
you're starting a business, you do everything. So I was doing the caregiving too. And I had lots of conversations with them at the end of their life. And no one ever
Yes.
said to me, I wish I had worked more.
Yeah.
No, they all express their regrets to me, right? I wish I had a better relationship with my spouse. I wish my kids were here instead of you. I wish I had taken that trip. I wish, I wish, I
Hmm.
wish. And so they were at the end of their life when they should have been like enjoying and really thinking about all the amazingness. And instead, they were thinking about all the regrets that they had. And
Yeah.
if that's not like a slap in the face wake up call, then I
Yes.
don't know what is. And so that's why it's so important. Like when I start working with women in my signature program, like the first thing I have them do is tell me, what do you want for your life? Like I want
Yeah.
to know, right?
Yes.
And if it's like more time and money, I'm like, dig deeper. What are you going to do with your time? What are you going to do with that money? Right? Like
Exactly.
paint that picture for me.
Yes. Yes, and I remember because we talked about this because obviously working as a nurse in the ICU, I saw the same thing. I've seen so many people at end of life, and it's like no one said they wishes that they would have hustled harder.
No.
There's literally not a single person that's out there saying that.
Mm-mm.
They, the things that they loved are the time, the memories, the people that they spent their time with. Like
Yeah.
that's what matters. That is what is important.
No one remembers like that meeting that you forced yourself to go to at 7
No.
a.m. or that like late night networking thing. And, the people that you help in your business, like hopefully you make a really great impact on them, but they're not going
Yeah.
to remember all of the nitty gritty stuff you do. They're going to remember like how you made them feel. And
Yes.
so, and you know that, right? As being a nurse, right? Like that's what makes patients like so happy is how they feel. And so that's the thing is you really want to think about like in your business, are you present enough to make the impression on your clients or customers so that they're thinking like, wow, she made me feel like amazing or fulfilled or, she solved my problem or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like that that is what's so important. And I find that like, especially right now, that's what's going to make you stand out because there are so many people that still aren't willing to do that part of it and get in there with their clients and be present and, build relationships and really just be there for
Yeah.
your clients. And then again, thinking about how are you going to be present in your life outside of it?
Mhm.
It's a both.
Exactly. And the whole work-life balance thing, whether you believe that or you don't,
Yeah.
or you want to call it harmony or whatever the heck you want to call
Yeah.
it, the whole big thing is just to remember that you need both in your life,
Yeah.
right? You need work, business, and you need to have a life.
Yeah.
And, I've been at points in my business, like when I should have been celebrating my first $1 million in 2010. Instead, I was sitting in my car at 9 a.m. crying my eyes out because I had just had another team member call out sick. And after working 80 hours a week for 3 years, I was kind of like, okay, this moment, like something has to change. This was my draw a line in the
Yeah.
sand moment because at that point, I had no balance in my life. I had ruined
Hmm.
relationships because I was so focused on building a business.
Yeah.
I almost missed a mental health scare that could have ended, really badly. And it was all because I was so focused on making money and not really building a business that was going to allow me the freedom that I went into business for.
Yes. And I think that that's huge for people to hear. Like
Mhm.
you were and you have been at the $1 million marks, and
Mhm.
this is how you were feeling.
Yep.
Because I
Yeah.
think that people have this like fantasy land idea of getting there and everything's going to be perfect. Everything's going to be just like, that's going to be it. And you're just going to feel great. And you can, but you really have to be intentional about how you're getting there because if you're just busting your ass and hustling it that whole way, like it's really not.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So I work with six-figure women entrepreneurs who want to get to that million, right? They want to scale to a million because I don't know if you know this, but only 2% of women entrepreneurs will hit $1 million in
Mhm.
revenue. And I don't know about you, but I personally think that's crap because
That's
there's
crazy.
no secret to a million, but it's exactly what you said. Like you can hustle to six figures and I hustled to seven, but I was completely broken inside. Like my
Yeah.
business was just like, I like to say it was like built on band-aids, it was like band-aid,
Yeah.
band-aid, band-aid. Like everything was just like stuck together with duct tape. And so that's why when I hit a million, it wasn't like some magical thing. It was because I had lacked the infrastructure, which I now teach women in business. Because
Mhm.
that, if you're truly looking for the secret to hit a million and have everything be like wonderful and magical and unicorns and rainbows, then it's systems, right? That's the
Yeah.
secret.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because that's exactly it. Like we do such similar things, and I think that people are like, "Oh, but that's so boring." And it's like, "Okay, maybe, but do you actually like do you want to feel burnt out at the end of the day?" And like, going through every day having like worked 15 hours and then just crashing and then having to get up and do it at like the same thing every day because you're the one doing everything and holding it all together? Or do you want to learn some of the boring shit so that you're not doing everything?
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why businesses are put together with that duct tape or band-aids, right? Because
Hmm.
systems are not sexy. Like it's
No.
not like some cool tool or some marketing thing, right? Like
Yep.
it's not that exciting, like, sparkly thing. And
Yeah.
so we skip them. And when I hit that $1 million, my mom encouraged me to meet with a coach, and I did. And I was so embarrassed about it. I literally put the meeting on my calendar as like private. I like had it at like the shady dark diner, like at the end of our plaza. And like
Yeah.
I went out the back door, didn't tell anyone where I was going because I was really embarrassed that this
Yeah.
problem solver that I am couldn't figure it out. And
Yeah.
so when I got there and I met with him, I like vomited all of my problems. And he said, you need to work on these three things. And ultimately, it was systems. My
Yeah.
business lacked systems.
Yeah.
And I was like, it can't be that simple. And he was like, I'm telling you, that's
But it
what it
is.
is, right?
Yeah.
Like ultimately. And so I
Mhm.
tested it and I was like, oh, wow, he's right. And it
This
it like
works.
it
Yeah.
like it went from systems not being sexy to being like, oh my God, I'm in love with systems.
Yes.
And so then it just really turned so much around in my life. I went from 80 plus hours a week to 16,
Yeah.
right? Tripling that $1 million revenue and really living my best life while I had this amazing business. And that's why I became a coach, is
Yeah.
because I know that there's no secret out there. It's just having those four fundamental core pillars that I teach women inside my program that is what makes business work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what makes Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, my business, your business work. It's just,
Hmm.
it's not sparkly, but it's the secret.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so funny because, all that we see are like, oh, let's go pose at a fancy hotel or let's do this or sure, but that's not what gets you the consistent income, the consistent big months, sustainable, long term, all of the things. It's really not. It might look good, but that's not it.
Yeah, no. And, I just celebrated my best month of business. So,
Yes.
yay, so exciting. And I
Yes.
wrote a newsletter on it, and it really came down to three things. So, the first thing was you have to know who your ideal client is,
Yep.
and not some like fake avatar that they tell you, like, oh, she's
Yeah.
30 to 50 and she wears this and she does
Her
this.
name
No,
is
like,
Cheryl.
yeah, like, like think about
Maybe,
someone
but
you've
like,
worked with, right? And really narrowing down who is that ideal client and then speaking to them. That is so important.
hmm.
And then the second thing that I realized was simplifying. So back in 2024, I had webinars and workshops and quizzes
Yep.
and freebies and guides and PDFs and, big offers and medium offers and small offers and all of these things. And just saying all that makes me tired right now.
Yes.
And I shut it all down at the end
Yep.
of 2024. And I just focused on my 90-day signature program. That was it.
Yep.
You want to work with me? This is what we're going to do. And because I simplified it, I was able to scale it because
Yep.
people then, I was speaking to my ideal client, they heard one message from me, and they either said, yes, I'm in, or no, I'm not. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
And it was just like so clear, like, here's the path, right?
Yep.
And then the last thing was really owning your superpower. I believe truly that everyone is their own unicorn, right?
Hmm.
And so there, even though you and I do similar things,
Yep.
we don't do it the same because
No,
you're you and I'm me, right?
exactly.
And so when you own your amazingness and you have that
Hmm.
confidence and you pull your shoulders back, people associate with that. Like you
Yep.
said, like, okay, that picture in front of that shiny hotel or that fancy car kind of deal, like it might slow the scroll for a second, but what people really want to see is you owning your
Yep.
amazing. That's what they want. They want to
Yeah.
align with someone who knows their worth, they're confident, and they feel like they're going to get them from A to Z, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think
those
that
three things are huge.
it truly is. And like, just so much, all of those together. Talking to exactly who your ideal client is. And I think it's so funny, like the client avatar thing that we've all heard of. I always thought that that was so weird, and I never did those exercises when people were like, "Oh yeah, make up this person that lives in like Ohio. I'm in Canada." I'm like, "They no." Most of my clients are actually in the US, but I'm just like, "This is why? Like what this makes no sense to me. Like that's no.
Yeah,
That
same.
like that's totally not that is not it. Like none none of that made any sense. That is
Mhm.
not it. Like, who are you actually speaking to? Where are they at right now? Where do they want to get out of? Where do they want to go?
Yep. And that's what's so huge is, so what I tell my clients is I'm like, I want you to think about like the best clients you ever had
Yeah.
and tell me about them, right?
Yeah.
Because those are the people you want more of, right? They're not
Yeah.
fake humans, like they're real people. Like,
Yeah.
how did they treat you? How did they
Yeah.
find you? You know what I mean? Like, what words did they use, right? Like, tell me about
Yes.
your relationship with them.
Yep.
And so those things are, to me, makes it so much easier than making up
Hmm.
fake Susie who lives in Ohio.
I know. I know. And I've gone through with some of my clients and I've looked at, okay, so if you're getting feedback from your clients, what are the things specifically that they're saying? Because those you can speak straight to that. That
Mhm.
is like gold right there because they are telling you the exact things that they want to work on. That is it right there. Speak to those things. Or when they're coming in on an onboarding form and then like you've worked with them for a while and they are a really great client. Well, what did they come to you? Where did they come to you at? That's
Mhm.
what you want to speak to.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think that is so important right now in business is to really speak to one person,
Hmm.
simplify your business, and then
Yes.
own who you are, you know?
Yeah. And the simplifying thing too, it reminds me of there was the period of time where everyone had their mini offers,
Mhm.
and that was a whole thing. And it was like 100 mini offers were coming out, every month. And that's insane. And you really don't need that. Like you said, you have your one signature program. And I love that because it does make it so easy. And that's something that I talk about too, is really simplifying things because then you're able to focus on that one thing,
Mhm.
speak to it, get people knowing you for that.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And then sell your butt off on that
Yeah.
one thing, right? Like I ran a $17 million business and we basically had like three services that were kind
Yep.
of all of the same. And I had 52,000 seniors in my territory. and we made that 17 million with a couple thousand, right? So you don't need, millions and millions of people. You don't
No.
need tons and tons of offers. You
Yeah.
just need to do a little bit of things really, really well. And so
Yes.
that's what I'm focused on right now in my signature program is I'm like, how can I make this even better for my clients?
Yes.
Going deeper with them, getting them better results, because that then is easier to sell.
Well, and that's the other thing. And I love that you say that because then you can actually make it better. When you have all of these things that you're doing, like what do you even focus on?
Mhm.
There's too much. You're all over the place. But if you only have, one thing, two things, maybe three that you do, then you can really look at, okay, so how do I actually improve this? How do I truly make this better, get better results for people, do all of those things? That's only going to help you out, help your clients out, get everyone better results all around and make it, like you said, easier to sell.
Yeah, exactly. And I think really at a point where we are in 2025 is you just need to get a handle on all the moving pieces in your business, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to slow down in order to speed up. And
Yes.
so that's what I did in
Yeah.
2024 is I really looked at all the moving pieces and dove into those numbers like super deep, more than I usually do. And I was like, what's working and what's not
Yeah.
working? And I shut down everything that wasn't working. And it's not that I'll never bring it back, but it's like I wanted to make my signature program like the best I possibly could. And
Yeah.
in order to do that, I needed the space to focus and get creative.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't be working on 10 other things at the same time in order to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's interesting because I think so many people are really scared to do that, to
Yes.
do that pull back, to do that slow down and really dive deep into one thing. But it really can be the thing that like skyrockets your business.
Yeah. So let me give you an example of that. So I started my franchise in 2007, and the franchisor gave us a list of about 1,000 names in our community, and we marketed to those 1,000 people for 5 years.
Hmm.
And then myself and two other neighboring franchise owners got together and we started planning every 90 days. We had quarterly planning meetings. And one of the things we dove into is where our referrals and then clients were coming from. And
Hmm.
what I realized when I dialed in was that 80% of my business was coming from only 200 of those 1,000 referral sources, which
Yeah.
totally makes sense, right? That's totally Pareto's principle, 80-20.
Yeah.
We all know that. But now that I had the information, I had to make the really scary decision to stop visiting those 800 and
Yeah.
double down on the 200. But
Yes.
it was like almost overnight when we made that decision, my salesperson and I. And what happened is we were able to spend more time getting to know those 200 better because we
Yeah.
weren't running around like with chickens, and our heads cut off. And so we built better relationships, deeper
Yep.
relationships. We understood their pain points better. We figured out other ways we could help them. And it was like magically our revenue went up and we were
Hmm.
actually working less and getting more quality time. And so it is scary to make those decisions.
Yep.
But if you have the data and the metrics and, a gut feeling that nothing's kind of worked the way it was,
Yeah.
then you got to try something different.
Yes. Yeah. And I I do something very similar when I look at data and to like compare this kind of to online. When you're looking at it and you can see where your traffic is coming from and you're thinking about spreading yourself across like all of the platforms and you actually see that most of your traffic is coming from like Facebook or LinkedIn or like both of those, but you're not actually getting something from Instagram, which like everyone thinks traditionally is the big like platform that we should all be on. Guess where you should actually be focusing your efforts.
Exactly.
But so many people don't want to like shift it because it seems so counterintuitive from what we've always been told we should do. But it's truly looking at what actually works for you and your business.
Because again, it goes back to you're unique, right?
Yeah.
And your audience might resonate more with Facebook
Yeah.
versus everyone else saying, oh, go get on Instagram. Like when I have clients that say, oh, I'm on Facebook and it's doing really well. Do you think I should get on Instagram? And I'm like, no, like not
No.
unless you have the time. If you have the time, sure, but
Yeah.
you can test it. But if you don't have the time, which most don't when they come to me,
Yeah.
it's, like, no, like go deeper on Facebook, then go find more of your people. Um,
Exactly.
and so, ultimately, it all comes down to that whole myth of, or that whole like mystery of like, how do you actually work smarter and not harder? And
Yeah.
it's, looking at your numbers and really slowing down to speed up and simplifying. It's, I always like to tell women, like, there is no secret to business. It's
Yeah.
really just metrics and looking at what's working.
Yeah. And then repeating it over time, which people don't like to do, but that's truly what it is.
It is. And the thing about it is, when I first started my first business, I did the sales and marketing for 2 years straight. And that was, those 2 years of 1,000 people. And it got to a point where it was like, okay, I can now afford to hire someone because I was done doing that. So I
Yeah.
hired someone else to do it. So you still have to do those things, but if you don't want to do them, then you have to hire someone to do them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it has to be done, unfortunately, whether you
Exactly.
like it or not.
That's the key to business.
Yeah. Yes, it absolutely still has to get done. So let us know how do you make an impact? That's what I love asking everyone. What is the one way that you are making an impact with your business, in your life?
Yeah. Oh my God. I really love that question. No one has ever asked that before in a podcast. So I'm going to bring it back to your superpower. So I feel like I have two. And the first one is when clients come to me, usually they're at a point in their business where they're hustling, they may be experiencing some early signs of burnout. And one of my superpowers is that I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader until you get back to the point where you can be your own cheerleader again, right?
Hmm.
And so, like, I will cheer you on through the good times, the bad times. Like, I will be there for you until you kind of get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm good again, right? So, that's one of my superpowers. But the other one that really impacts business is I can see the big picture, like the things that most of my clients can't. So they'll
Yeah.
come to me and they'll say, you know, this, and this is wrong. And I'm like, okay, but if we look at the big picture, this is what I see. And I think that's really just, I'm on the outside, right? I'm
Yeah.
not in the day to day. But I can paint this vision for them of like what's possible.
Yeah.
And usually when we paint that vision together, it allows them to kind of say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want. And so then it's cheering them on, giving them the tools to get there, and, really getting them to that point where they believe that that vision is possible. Like it's not just a dream anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, and it's so true and that's, it's so both of those things are so needed because you need someone when you are at that point where you're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't have capacity for anything else, but I really like want to still make this happen, but like where am I supposed to go? You need someone who's just going to come in and be like, I'm here. I'm going to support you. And, you know, have someone that you can actually trust and talk to and that will be there for you
Yeah.
and for seeing the bigger picture. And that's something that I always say too, like we are way too close to our own businesses to be able to see everything. Because I hear
Mhm.
so often people will say, well, why didn't I notice that? Oh, that seems so obvious now that you say it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you are in this every single day. That's why
Yeah.
it's not obvious to you.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's why you hire coaches and mentors and gurus and all of those kinds of people is because they can see what you can't. Right. And so to me, it's worth every penny of the investment, So if it helps you get quicker, better, faster results.
Yeah, because even going back to like your story of when you were making, you hit your million and you were burnt out and you still went and hired the coach because you were like, how the hell do I get out of this? And you couldn't see, the way out, see the system, see how you were going to get out of the duct tape and the all of that because you can't when you're in it because you have to just be running it. You have to make sure that it keeps moving. And you don't really have that time sometimes to slow down and actually be like, okay, this is what actually needs to happen.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. So I love this conversation. I think that this was so good. Are there any last tips, tidbits, anything that you would like to leave us all with?
Well, I think it just really goes back to the story about, working with seniors at the end of the life. You get one life
Mhm.
and your business should be supporting that life. So if you're at a point right now where you're hustling and you're not living your life, then it's time to do something differently, right? Because you just never know what's going to happen in life. And you should live it the best that you possibly can. So we get one shot at this.
Yes. Yep. I love that. That is the best way to end this off because I absolutely agree. And that's something that we all really need to focus on and think about. So great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciated this conversation. Such good questions, and I appreciate you.
Yes. Well, thank you. This was great. And for those of you listening in, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you would give it a 5-star rating and review. If you are watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, go after everything that you fucking want and be unapologetic about it.